to have him here. It is proud Yorta Yorta, Gunnai, Gunditjmara man. It is Dixon Patten. He joins us live in the studio today. Morning, Dix.
Morning, brother Troy. How you going?
Yeah, good, Braz. Good, Braz. How are you,
That's
man?
good.
You're looking fresh for a 7:30 morning report. I'm glad you're here, man.
Oh, bros, I was up at 5.
Oh man, you're one of those dudes.
Yeah.
Tackling the day. How's your morning been?
No, it's been good. Just went and got my coffee and a juice, and feeling pumped to get creative.
Yeah, man. Man, you are everywhere. I mean, I just literally typed in your name for a video trailer or something to play ahead of it, and up popped. I mean, you've done the hospital. You did Belong. Oh, is it Belong Beyond? A friend of mine, Ben Burge, got you to do some of the office stuff. You're everywhere. You're doing the AFL this weekend. You're doing the footy jerseys. You've done the train. I mean, they're huge gigs with a lot of responsibility. Where do you begin when someone commissions you from a white fella org to go, hey, tell us your story? You're like, where do you start with so many tens of thousands of years of culture behind you speaking to you?
Well, that's just it. You got to go back to the start. You have to connect to yourself. In everything that I do, I try and be as authentic as I can in my approach. I'm still learning and reclaiming culture as well, and stories, and so I'm always faced with new challenges and but new opportunities too. I always go back as much as I can to sit on my countries and learn from our elders, and everything that I know really is it's because other artists and other senior and leadership and community imparted their knowledge to me, and it was about me. This has been kind of a long time coming too, because ever since I was young, I was always encouraged to sit and listen and to soak in all that information of history and connection and family. So it's just really about listening. A lot of it's about deep listening and understanding where you come from, and I try not to draw on things that I haven't yet experienced. A lot of the stuff that I'm doing work for, it's part of my history and part of my family's history. So I draw on that, but a lot of my work is we know all the misfortunes and the history of First Nations people, but I really try and take a strength-based approach in saying that and focusing on the strengths that our culture has. It's centered around strong community, strong family, our cultural values and principles, and what that can offer for our mob, but for the broader Australian society as well, to adopt those principles.
It's a couple of spaces you're jumping in and out of there. It can be tiring. Where do you find strength from? I love that you said strength and not solution based, or something corny like come from a positive world. I mean, it's not always positive, but it's always strong. Like there's a strength. There's a strength. Tell us a little bit about what do you mean by strength?
Just like I said, the history that we've had to face, and like us having to reclaim and going to battle every day and wearing kind of walking in two worlds. We're constantly having to adjust ourselves and our thinking, and we step into spaces where there's a lot of personal conflict and cultural conflict in the way that we do things and how we operate as a community. So a lot of strength in that, a lot of strength to kind of step into spaces and to be faced with those challenges, but still navigate it and push through it. There's strength in that. There's strength in waking up every day and still going to battle for our community and our mob. And a lot of times we don't get to express that. A lot of times we just get up and do. I'm fortunate I get to express that. In my creativity. So that's a healing thing for me as well, and for a lot of creatives. It's just really sitting with that and understanding also too, like you said, there's a responsibility that comes with telling these stories. I'm cautious of not representing everyone, but at the same time, not representing everybody. So there's a balance with that. It's how do you include everyone in that story, but not make it really about me. I try and take my whole community with me on that journey, and that's why I share a lot of my expression in the form of I put a lot of posts out there, and reflect on the work that I do, or, reflect on community. I do that in written word too, not just visual art. In the hopes that, people can draw strength from that as well. Like that's the thing, is that my ethos is around indigenising spaces. And so, reminding people that this is Aboriginal country, you walk in an Aboriginal land, and also too that all countries that we all have a commonality, but we also have to respect traditions of that country as well. So it's just reminding people that you live off country, or you work off country, or you play off country. It's understanding where you are. That's really important. But then also too, not forgetting where you come from. So that's a balance as well. So the strength in that, strength in. I get a lot of strength, like I said before, going home to country and sitting with my mum, or sitting with my nan, or my dad, or my family. And it's not even just my elders; it's also young ones, and hearing their perspectives. Yeah. You learn a lot from them as well. You learn a lot about how they navigate and view the world. So I'm lucky. I've got a really diverse set of friends, both Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal, that are very passionate about this space as well. And so, hearing the feedback from them too, and also the spaces that I put my art into, hearing that feedback around how that's changing the landscape, the broad Australian landscape, how creatives are doing that, and policy makers are doing that, and all these change agents in whatever role they're in. It's really making a better Australia, and really opening up doors for our mobs. And sometimes, we very our mob is very passionate about justice, and passionate about bringing everyone along with us. And sometimes it's frustrating, because it's like we want people to walk through that door when we open them, but they'll do that in their own time. And that's the thing too, and that's what why I use that word strength, and not this corny thing of like, let's be positive and all that kind of stuff, because the reality is it's not all positive. And even in my art, it's very triggering, because the themes that come up is around reconciliation, and so that just is a reminder of why we need it. I got to go kind of within and bring that history with me. Looking at my mum and my stepmom were stolen gen, and the policy of the day had my nan move from town to town, not going to school, all those things that I carry with me. And but looking forward also to understanding my privilege in the era I was born in, and the things I have access to in this country. I know a lot of other countries have that. So it's looking at all those things and dissecting it, and looking at all those intersections of there's other minority groups within our community too. There's gay and lesbian community, and then there's women are fighting for rights, and then there's there's grassroots mobs. So I bring all those people with me as well on this journey.
Man, impressive. You're such a good communicator too, bros, and not just not verbally now, but through your artwork. It's incredible, and it's good that you can really see that you got some context, like you got clarity before, and you've given us some great, I think, things to take away before you move. Go back, have a look why you're moving forward, who's behind you, who can you bring along. That train. A lot of my listeners are from down in Wathaurong country, so they would have seen that train. Is that every single tribe on that train? And tell us a little about the artwork used to, once again, have the daunting task of including every single mob's name up there, and then bringing artwork through. Because does different tribes have different artwork, or is most of Kulin Nations quite similar?
No, well, that's the thing, is that understanding diversity, that we're such a diverse mob, I try to include all the nations across Victoria in the artwork. There's that pressure of like making sure that, like I said before, you don't leave anyone out, but also I didn't want to just make it about my mobs either. I was really taking myself out of that and just, saying, how do I represent this in such a respectful way? And to make sure that mob are included. There's a lot of communities that are very under-resourced, don't have the opportunity to have these spaces for Just for the simple fact that there's not many, culture is very fragmented. They're from regional areas that don't have a lot of support in the way of, the broader community. So, it was really about that as well, including them in this story. And hoping that when they saw the art and were on the train, they felt connected.
I'll put my hand up. I'll put my hand up. I went straight to my mob. Like,
yeah.
The train pulls up. I'm trying to chuck my bags on there, but also find my. That's right. But I think all the black fellas are late to get on the train, hanging out, taking selfies with the train. And train's got to go, bros. Let's go. It did, and I'm sure I hope you've heard it, but I'm sure you would have heard people going, how cool it was to get on a train with my mob on the front. Like, you sit on that train ride going, it's on. Like, it's so good. Someone's asked a really good question here. I've got a chat line here.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting one. It's got to do with Collingwood and the year that they've had in terms of respect to culture, maybe over the last few years. We know Heredia and the story there. Someone's asked, how much of the inner Collingwood Footy Club have you been involved and exposed to with your development of the Pies jumper? Could you feel a positive change after such a raw and challenging year in its recognition and support of First Nations people?
I have to be honest, it's been one of the most inclusive engagements that I've been through to date. Just the willingness to listen, the willingness to have to hear my input, to allow me to have full creative license, to understanding my own autonomy as an Aboriginal person. I've had a lot of briefings where it was really about, this is about our organisation and what we want to, we want to put our stamp and make sure that people get our message. But it was reversed with Collingwood. It was about, we want to give you this platform to showcase whatever story you see fit. They invited me to come on and talk to the players and present the artwork to them. And, they were all just genuine and authentic in wanting to listen. We must remember too that, they've inherited this awful mess as well, especially first year players and other players that don't have a say, in the leadership and the role that they play, that, they just show up and want to get the job done, As a sports person as well, growing up, I understand that, you're there because you've got this goal in mind, but I understand you become part of this bigger community. But that was my message to them as well, is saying that, you've inherited just like us, but you've also got resources that we don't have. And so it's things like this that that's a responsibility that you have to take on, and you chose to be there as well. So, there's two sides. Giving them slack and understanding that a lot of them didn't cause that, but they are trying to make a difference. I'm trying not to speak on their behalf, but from what I observed and what I saw, they're authentic in their approach in doing better. I nearly walked away from the job.
This recent one.
The Collingwood engagement because of the Do Better report, and I had to sit with that. I rang him up and said, I feel a bit uncomfortable because I'm mindful that I don't want to represent everyone's opinions. Like, people are entitled to their opinion. I had family and community say, boycott them. They need to get rid of the whole board, and pretty much F them. And my thing was, and I started to feel that way a little bit as well myself. It was about me. And when I thought about it, I'm like, it's not about you. It's part of, we're part of something bigger here, and there's an opportunity here to make change, and real change. But also, we need these spaces, and we can't hide from these problems. We got to talk about them. That's the thing, is that we're on this call for treaty and call for justice. It's going to get a little bit ugly before it gets better. We're in the middle of the pandemic as well, and so it's brought attention to a lot of things, mental health and health in general. And it felt as if it had gotten worse, but I don't think so. I think it was always there. I think just people had the opportunity to pay attention to it. So that was the thing, is that we, in Western society, we get so time poor, and so we're tired, and so having this pandemic, has had a lot of us, reflecting and going, within and, doing inventory on our lives and, realizing what's important and what's not. But a part of that too is the traumas and the grief and the things we push back are going to come forward. And so, we can identify that and think that that's, it means there's more problems, but it's not. I just think that it's just made us pay attention to them. And in the world of the digital space, and everyone feels like they've got a platform and a voice, we're going to hear it and see it more. But we have to remember too, there's a lot of positivity and beauty in the world, and it's up to us to be accountable for our own health as well, and how we get that strength and how we heal and move forward. For me, I can't answer that for anyone else, but for me, it's going to country and yarning to my elders, and anything that I've got here internally, I've got to find a way to release that.
It's beautiful, Braz. We've got some more comments flying off the chat. That's brilliant to hear. Love your positivity for progression and the future, and being engaged with how to be part of the solution going forwards. Which that's all our deep intent is to move forward. I think it's when you start, as soon as you're born, you're off. You're off. You're moving forward with or without your knowledge. It's a beautiful thing that you can dabble in that space and bring your art form to talk about things that words don't explain and touch so many people. Tell us a little bit about your design for Essendon this year.
So that was to honour Norm MacDonald, the first Aboriginal player for Essendon. He was from Gunditjmara country, and I come from all my matriarchs, the long line of just Gunditj women. So I'm Gunditjmara artist as well. I was asked for that reason, but also our family's connection, that our families grew up down on country. And in it, the Black Cockatoo, he was one of our many Maoris. There's a lot of clans and nations on Gunditj country, and the Black Cockatoo and White Cockatoo, two of the Maoris. And the Black Cockatoo, from what I understand, is he was a kind of conduit from this life to the next. He was the one who took you, to that next transition. I don't want to be corny and say the dream time, but life beyond this. I also got to honour Michael Long with the long walk with the feet walking, and all the other players that, like I said before, open the doors for mob. It gives our community permission to stand up and say, I can do that too, and encourage them in confidence to say, I belong in this space. That's what that was about. I also got to honour my sister that I lost a couple of years back. Her anniversary's coming up next week for her passing, but her personal totem was a Black Cockatoo as well. So this artwork was more than just a commission. It was actually a healing journey as well. It was something that helped me feel, like you said before, no words, just a feeling. So I felt very blessed and humbled to be able to kind of have this as a multiple meaning for me. It wasn't about put my name out there really. It was about that healing journey, but also how I can best represent Uncle Norm, and just for something for people to enjoy too. Visually, I think it came out really well. One of the better art projects that I'd worked on in terms of my connection to it.
Do you think that's why? Do you think that's why it was because of that deeper connection?
Possibly.
Or do you look at the artwork and go, "Wow, that's Mickey Mouse right there. That's looking good," but then also it's attached to the
maybe
where you went to.
Yeah. I mean, anything that I feel really connected to. Like you can't really measure creativity. You can't really.
Hard, isn't it?
You can't force it. At any given time in my life, I might have been given the same brief and come up with something completely different. So that's what it is too. It's understanding that sometimes when we create as artists and creators, it's really about what's happening in the moment too. Yes, we take all that historical stuff with us, but it's also what's influencing us at the time, the resources we have access to and the knowledge we have access to at the time. So, that to me was just really symbolic of what I was going through at the time. on that healing journey. But the message behind that too, it was also about not having to die physically as well. It was about dying spiritually, and that we can wake up at any given moment and make a choice to let all that old stuff go. So there's a lot of power in that, is understanding that spiritually we can always be new.
Tell us a little bit, beautiful Dixon. Tell us a little bit about is it Bayala? How do you pronounce?
Bayala Creative. Yeah.
Bayala Creative. Tell us a little bit about where that comes from, the drive behind that, and starting your own business is just an epic journey, not just for people in general, but even more so. You talk about those minority groups within groups. For First Nations people to know why they're doing something is super important, but to also turn it into something that you can develop into supporting your community. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I never intended really for it to be a business. It was just, like when you're young, it's how can I put my name to this? And it's I've never seen my name on such a stage. And then it kind of really shifted from that. It was like, okay, I've got the platform now. What's my responsibility in sharing that with community? And that's where my kind of ethos had changed about indigenising spaces, but also creating platforms for other mob as well. So we've had engagements too, where it's not been about my art, but how we have brought clients and other artists together as well, for some beautiful outcomes. An example of that is an artist by the name of Nikita Rodham. I got her to do a submission. So we went for a proposal, and a tender. We won the tender. So it was up against other artists. And so that tender and that artwork was a Muslim wrap. So every baby born in Victoria for the next 3 years will have this wrap and this artwork.
Wow.
And yeah. And so, that was really powerful and really beautiful to see that, Bayala could create that opportunity too. I plan and hope that, there's a lot of talent, like you said earlier, in our community. And, I want Bayala and similar institutions to be able to create those platforms for people that don't necessarily do this full time, have all the talent, but, either afraid to step into the space, or like I said, just don't want to do it full time. But there's still those opportunities for them to, everyone's got a story to tell and everyone's got a message to share. And so that's what I hope Bayala creates for people as well.
You've got your artwork in some very public spaces, perhaps none more enjoyable from a music space than when you met Lauryn Hill. I loved seeing that photo, and I know you went with Grace. What? Come on, you're a mad lover of 90s R&B. I think we've got a lot more similarities than what most people think. Tell us about that experience meeting Lauryn Hill, and what did you give to her?
Oh, that was huge. That was like Lauryn Hill. When I was young, I probably, anyone that's listened to her music, like she really, really pulled me out of a dark place.
Wow. When
I was younger, I was going through some really hard times. And I reckon I bought her album about 5 times. Back when we used to listen to CDs, and and it turned it, and it wasn't obsession. It was more just there's a lot of truth in her music, and just a lot of, I think, it was coming of age kind of album, and the way that she was kind of breaking away from traditions in her respective industry and being honest with herself, and just kind of like removing those masks and layers that we wear. I think that I took a lot from that, and I'd missed her concerts previously before when she'd come here, and I kicked myself, and then anyways I ended up buying a ticket, and I was leaving home, and I ended up grabbing this gift. So my best friend Nikita gave me this like healing pouch. So when I lost my sister, this healing pouch had a healing stone in it, and so it was a pouch that was crocheted with an Aboriginal flag, and it had a cross in it and bunga wings. And I grew up in the church. I grew up kind of like a Christian, but my kind of spiritual belief has evolved from that. I draw a lot of influences from a lot of spirituality from my own culture. I love the message of Jesus. I also love the message of Buddha, and I also love the message, of Allah. So there's all these things that I, and Bayami and Banjul, all these things that, I draw from. And so that's what that represented, having the cross and Banjul on there, is that, it's a message and an energy behind that.
I wish I could find it. I'm trying to dig it up out of your photos, but it's so far down the rung. I'd
left, I'd left, and I'm like, I'm going to give this to her.
Did you already have planned to meet her? Like, were you doing a meet and greet?
No.
Or did you just barge your way in?
No. I was like, I'm gonna give this to her, and I don't know how. But anyways, got to the concert.
Yeah, right, that'll do.
Had fun, and come to the end of it. I'm just standing there in awe, and I'm looking around, and Nikita goes to me, "What are you doing? Aren't we going?" And I said, "No, I wanna give this to Lauryn." And she's like, "Just throw it on stage, and one of the guys will pick it up." And I'm like, "No, they might keep it for themselves."
Yeah, it's precious.
So I looked. I swear, I looked up, because it was Sydney Myer Music Bowl, and it's open. And I looked up to the stars, and I said, "Ancestors, please allow me the opportunity to give this to her." Right. And anyways, so I'd been introduced to this friend on social media, and we'd never met. And for some reason, I could see the kind of like her aura just from the back of her head, and I didn't even know. I'd never met her. Out of all these people, I just kind of like pinpointed her and zoned in on her. And I walked up, tapped her on the shoulder, and I said, "Hi, are you Grace?" And she said, "Yes." "Oh my God, Dixon." And she's like, "What's happening?" And I'm looking around, so I'm paying attention to her, but I'm also keeping my eye on Lauryn to make sure she doesn't.
Had you never met Grace up until that stage?
No.
That's crazy.
And she's like, "Oh, I can get it to her." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I can get it to her. I'm friends with her music manager." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Actually, no, you can give it to her." And then she takes me up to the side, and there was another black fella that was there, and he's watching me, and he's like eyeing me off, going, "What's going on here? You're going at the back, aren't you?" And so he's like, come up to me, and I looked at him, and because Grace was like, "Is he with you?" And I was kind of like, I'm in this thing, like, I've got to make a decision here, and I'm like, "Oh," and I looked at him, and I'm like, "Please don't ruin this for me."
I know.
And he looked at me, and he understood. He was like, "Nah, I'm not going to do that to you." So
he stayed. He didn't come.
He didn't come, and I felt really bad about that. But at the same time, I was not going to miss that opportunity. Sorry. So we ended up going out back, and
wow,
we're standing there. We're just like, wow, this is really surreal. So she comes out, and I just walked up to her. I said, "Can I give you a hug?" And I gave her a hug, and I took off my pouch, and I give it to her, and I explained what the story behind it. So similar, she grew up in the church and stuff, but also she also follows Zionism. Having been married into the Mali family. So she's just very spiritual as well and on this journey. So, when I explained that, she just gave me another hug. And then, Nikita ended up giving her a hug, and, she kind of imparted some, I can't remember exactly what she said to her, but, we were just standing there. She kind of like, then the guys pushed us to the side, and we're like, "All right, you got to go now." But anyways, I was on a buzz. I was a buzz all night. I didn't sleep. So I ended up going back to the concert the next night.
Oh, wow.
So I went back again, this time to Festival Hall. And as she's kind of performing, I'm looking, and I could see she ended up wearing the pouch that I give her.
Oh, deadly Raz.
So, that gave me goosebumps, and it's giving me goosebumps now. It was out of all the things she could have worn. She really resonated with that story and ended up wearing that pouch. So that was really powerful for me. And not just that, had the Aboriginal flag. So it was representing mob, and that's what I think she was paying homage to as well. And she was talking at the end, she was talking about love and professing this, love journey that she's on, in reclaiming herself and reclaiming love in all the spaces that she's in. And she ends up holding up this pouch, and I just lost it.
I got it. I found it, Braz. Sorry to be darting my eyes left and right then so much. I was trying to concentrate on you, but I knew what I was looking for, because I seen this. That is incredible. Look at Nikita is glowing. Wow, man. What a backdrop too. That's epic.
It's epic.
Oh, wow. You got that memory
I do.
pick, but that'll last for long times,
I've got this, I have to share this as well. So my first concert that I went to, I was pulled up on stage by Ashanti, and she sang to me. And then another concert I went to, I got Missy Elliott's hat. And so now when people understand I go to concerts, that they want to kind of, they're like, I'm coming with you because you get all the good things happening.
Something happens.
Yeah.
Hey, Dix, I knew. Yeah, go.
I just think that's a good energy. You put good energy out and it comes back to you.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think your strength, man, we're not going to say positivity. I think your strength is very, very evident just in these 40 minutes, but it's you, man. And I'm so glad you're around for community as well, when people don't know where to go or how to be and maybe have lost their way. That's what people like you are around, man. It's the truth. Man, we're going to finish off with some Lauryn Hill too. Give us your go-to Lauryn Hill to boost us off into the next part of the show. Where do you go?
Go to Lauryn Hill.
Where do you go?
Let's play Everything Is Everything.
That's so good. What do you got on today, Braz?
I'm working on. I'm going to do a shameless plug here. I'm
Go.
a co-coordinator for the Victorian Aboriginal Junior Basketball Tournament. So we're organising that in Dandenong, at beginning of NAIDOC week.
Cool.
So we're going to have a committee meeting and just fleshing out all the last kind of minute details and hoping that we can it's the first event for our community post COVID lockdown. And
Brilliant.
hopefully with what's going on, that we have the opportunity to still have it. I'm sure we will. If it has to be postponed, then so be it. But I just want to let people know that that's happening. If your kids want to get involved, reach out.
How do they get involved? Give us a site or something.
So registration's coming out
Who's
soon,
behind it?
so either today or tomorrow.
Is it Alice?
Sorry?
Who's behind it? Is it Alice Ann or?
So Rachel Stewart and Mick Saunders.
Oh,
so
yes, of course.
Yeah, Southern Aboriginal Sports.
Brilliant.
So you can look up Southern Aboriginal Sports on the Facebook page. Website's coming out soon as well. But keep an eye out for registrations.
That's brilliant, Braz. Oh man, nothing better than hearing kids got more opportunities to play basketball. It's just
absolutely
not enough. I've just put the link up there to Southern Aboriginal Sports as well. If any kids want to get around that and even go and support and go fill the seats and cheer the black fellas on. Hey Dix, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You're a good man. It's a very, very powerful chat, and I look forward to following your week ahead.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Man. You're a good man.
Yep.
This is